Who else is
I
on the
mean,
board?
recently I just joined, and I think it's something that the community definitely needs.
Who else is on the board?
Christine right now and myself, and so we are trying to find as much support. Anybody who wants to join us, welcome, because we want this to make.
I had talked to several of the board members. My brother Octavio and I did a report several years ago, like 3 years ago. And Christina was on the board back then, I think. So there was a community-wide report that came out that showed what people wanted to work on, and we presented it to Papo. But none of that stuff actually was implemented. And then several people from the community also gave requests to do programming. People's Press Project was one of them. And we never received a response. Berta Vasquez, who was on the board, she said that she was kind of kicked out because she asked you to have a meeting, and then they had a secret meeting without her that she found out about. She showed up and she said, this is what the community wanted. And she was told that I was some kind of troublemaker and that they'd called the cops on me, that Papa would call the cops on me. And I was like, I don't know about that. I've never been talked to by the police, or I don't know what this is about. I said, I think it was maybe something that was made up by Papo. I can't imagine that she made it up to tell me that, but she said she came over to my place crying afterwards and said that she didn't have any faith in the directing at the time. She said that there was no accounting of the financials. Marta Castañon, who also left the board, came to me and said that that was a problem as well, that there was nobody could account for the financials. And Duke was the person that helped mentor Papo Hernandez when he came in. He paid for his training to become an organizer and actually helped him with the funding for Bremer. So we were very excited that Centro had gotten such a large amount of funding, and we want to know what's happened with the funding. What's going on with the funding? We also heard Abner Adausa was kicked out of the board.
No, they wrote letters, and
Who wrote letters?
Marta Castañon and Abner wrote letters of resignation.
So Abner was not voted off the board?
Nobody was voted off the board. Becca left on her own accord. She sent in her resignation. I think we asked for it in writing because she just up and said, this is my last, meeting being on the board. And
Was she
left.
crying at that meeting? Do you remember that?
No.
So she just made that up?
I'm not saying she made it up. You're asking me if I remember her crying. I don't remember her crying.
I mean, as far as all these issues, we welcome that. If you want to come and be part of the board, we want more involvement. We want to be able to, people are saying this or that about Centro, about nothing being done, that's fine.
There's no programming, so we want to know what happened to the funding that was given by Bremer, because that was a lot of money that was supposed to be given for programming for the community.
Sure, there was initial. It was a three-part. It's a 3-year grant. It's a matching grant, so it wasn't like we were handed like $120,000.
No, of course.
Whatever. Okay, so the initial funds were sent. There's allocated for programming, and that goes into
What programming?
Whatever existing program we had, and then there's
What
a list.
programming was it?
Okay, I can give you a list, but I'm
Well,
not
just
gonna sit here.
name one. Name one of the programs.
And then the rest of the money is used for.
Can you name a
administrative-
program that was given here by Centro? Because I'm trying to remember one of the programs. Can you give one program that Centro provided?
We have many.
One, just name one.
Which year? Which time?
Any time,
we-
the last 2 years,
Can we
over the
leave
last
it?
year.
A little bit.
Did you want to know what happened to finances or not?
I'm trying to ask about programming.
Yes, you started asking what happened to the funds. You want to know that?
Well,
or
you
not?
said it was used for programming, and so I'm asking you to tell me what programming was it used for. Can you name a program, one single program?
I can give you a whole list of them right now.
Just name
On
one.
paper.
Name one.
Can you name an active one then? One
Can
that's
you name
actually in process?
Okay.
Why can't you?
Are we gonna be civil, or do we need to?
Can you answer questions that we
Excuse me.
asked?
Yes, we are trying our best to tell you what
No,
is
you're not.
happening. Do you want to continue the meeting in a civil tone or not?
I think that it's very civil. I'm asking a
Okay,
question
thank
and
you.
you're not
Well,
answering it. Can you just answer a question?
Okay, so can you tell us
Okay,
like
we've been-
a history of?
I will,
Yeah.
if she'll let me, but
Okay. Yeah, if
I
we
don't
can
know if she
choose.
really wants to do that. I think she just wants to badger me.
Oh.
That's not what I'm here for.
I
I
don't,
wouldn't have been here for as many years as I am if I wasn't asked to be on the board, if I didn't care about this community, and if I didn't care about Centro. What's happened with those funds is we lost our director. He left. You're aware of that. Okay, we applied for a new director. We interviewed. We had an interviewing committee. We had 3 applicants. We tried to use pick the best one that we could. Okay, that person did not last. We need somebody to work on grants and maintaining
what
the grant
happened to
we
that
had.
person?
She left.
How long did she work here?
I'd have to look it up to be very exact,
Can
but
you
a
give
few
me a
months.
ballpark? A few months?
I would say at least a few months, 3, maybe 2, and then that left a gap. People on our board left. There was like people who left the board and were left for a very core group. Okay, so.
How many
we are
people are on the
volunteer-
board now?
Us three.
4.
When did you start on the board?
Like
Do you want to,
minutes ago.
did you want
2
to
minutes
know?
ago? Okay,
No,
so
two,
there's
2 meetings.
2 meetings ago, okay.
Are all your board members people that are local, or do you have a board member?
I have
lives
one
in
that
another
has
state?
left. Yes, I have one that is like, he's via text and via, we work with him online, we work with him on text and via email. But he's informed and we keep him informed
And where does he live?
in Texas.
In Texas.
So how is that local to the community?
You just asked me if he was local and I just said he was not. Because he just left this community. People come and go in this community all the time.
Don't you think that it's important to have people that know the
Cindy,
community?
I
that
think
have
it's
a
very
history?
important that people come to know the history. He is from the community. And the
He's not
people we
here.
have on the community.
So of the board members that you have.
Would you like to be on the board?
From the list that you got from Bremer, you have plenty of names, people that were students from MSUM and then people that were from the community. Of those names, how many did you pick from that list?
What was your question?
Bremer-
Anybody who wants
Bremer-
to be on the
Bremer
board can
gave
be.
you a list of people to put on the board from the community and from the university, Latinos.
Bremer
Mexican-
gave me a list.
Bremer gave.
Bremer supplied a list.
Supplied a
Yes,
list.
they did.
When
Yeah.
did this happen?
This was,
Do you deny that
About
Bremer
a-
did
I
supply
have
the
no
list?
idea what you're talking about. I don't know who provided the list or when or who had the list. I'm not aware of this list.
So you're not aware that Bremer supplied a list of people that they wanted to have on the board?
No, I'm not aware of that at all.
because you had myself and Yasin. I've been asking to be on the board for 2 years. And my application and my resume got lost. I
Okay,
contacted
okay,
you
we need
guys.
to back up and listen because nobody's listening to this. If you really, really want to know what's going on with Centro, we will tell you, but you need to listen.
What is it we're not listening to?
You won't let me finish. You don't know what you're not listening to because you haven't listened yet. Okay? I'm serious because I don't like to be here. But
Putting out where?
Listen, we are down to a minimum amount of people. We are people that are volunteers on board. We are not the director. We are not full capacity volunteers. We agreed to be on this board as volunteer members, right? And the time capacity was not, 32 hours, 42 hours, whatever it is. When a director leaves and we're trying to fill that gap, we had Annalisa. Annalisa did not concentrate on what she needed to concentrate on. That hurt Centro, okay? We also had somebody else step in place, and he was more qualified for, actually we had an intern. We had an intern that we're gonna help with the administrative work, because we needed somebody to be able to pay the bills, keep things going, have the doors open, and continue to look for somebody who could keep Centro running, okay? He's an intern, he's done by May, okay? He wasn't graduate, he didn't qualify as someone who could be our director, because he didn't qualify, he wasn't a graduate yet, etc. So then we had Ernesto Atkinson. He was our third person, and he was asked to come in for programming because he also applied. We didn't feel he was strong to be a developmental director because we need somebody for development to take in money and to manage that money to keep this place going. And Papa was really better suited for programming. So we had Ernesto. So Ernesto was here for doing some programming and worked with that. But also Ernesto was not at a full-time capacity. We only have, people for part-time that we can fund for part-time. So Ernesto also, in August, was not able to continue with us because he left to continue a graduate program or to be in a graduate program in Chicago. Okay. So in the meantime, we're looking for people to fill our board, and I'll tell you, it's not super active. You know why? Because this takes time and it takes people, it takes capacity and it takes funding, and a few people can't do it. Okay, we put it out there, we've interviewed people, I mean, people that I've been given names to search for board applicants, you know, I've looked for different people.
But,
Okay.
but you had, you had funding when Papa
Cindy,
was
there's
here.
so much funding, and we got to the point where the funding was diminishing, okay? We need somebody to
How
manage
did
the
it
grant.
diminish?
You're paying the bills,
Just the bills.
paying the bills.
The bills soaked up $120,000 over the last 3 years without
Okay,
any
you didn't
programming.
listen. You didn't listen the first time. There was no $120,000. There was $25,000. The rest is
Right.
matching grants. If there's
But
no
that's
one
not the
here to
only
manage
grant.
it,
that-
if there's no one here to manage it, there is no other income coming in, is there? Out of that 120, let's get this straight. Out of that 120, that first $25,000 was here. That doesn't last forever. If you divide it up, about $6,000 a month, it's not gonna last forever. Okay? We had people, we had to come in here. It didn't happen. All right? There's money being spent, keeping the lights on, keeping the electricity going, keeping the heat done. We had an inspection this year. Excuse me, every 3 years we have a fire inspection. That happened. We had to pay an electrician to keep up to code, to let people remain to be in this building.
Then how come the programming that has been suggested, because I put in a proposal to Ed Mistel, and
We never received that.
he said he gave it to you and I have it in writing from him. And he said that he couldn't get the board to do any of the things that he suggested. That's what he said. He said that the stuff that he was having to do, he was having to pay it for out of his own pocket. Because he wasn't even being supplied with what he needed to do the
Not
painting
even for
stuff.
painting,
Yeah.
not for painting.
No,
for
that's not what
cleaning.
Ernesto said to us. That is not what was communicated to us. Those are things that he donated and he wanted to supply. And he was under the understanding that we are under a low budget and that this is like, we don't have this money for this, right? And we changed our organizational goals.
But you have had events here according to, was it Beatriz Castro, the one that was in, she posted on the event page for the protest that there have been events held here.
Okay, she's been in the community and
But there-
specifically meaning the last 2 years it's dropped off, but we've had.
But there hasn't been events for the Mexican community. There hasn't been a Cinco de Mayo celebration.
Okay,
There
let's.
hasn't been
Okay, so when we
programming.
did this strategic, our strategic planning, and a lot of what we were switching to was like, instead of direct services, because it was hard to fund, it was hard to get granting for, money for, it got switched to leader development. Okay, a lot of leader development, we're looking at getting community members to come in and try to support them and do what they want to do, such as Martha Castillo, who does Zumba. Now, you might not consider that, or Edwin Ivar, who did salsa lessons. For a moment, for a time, it was used as income coming in because it was.
But that's not
towards-
programming. That's
How
like,
is that not programming? It is the individual, like,
that's an
learning some leadership
individual.
skills.
No, but it's an individual.
You know what, if you want to write for grant, you can make that into programming. And I'm pretty sure you understand that kind of.
I do, I've been an executive coach before. There's a huge difference between having somebody from the community that does Zumba say, I want to use your building and I'm going to come and teach a lesson there, like Rosie was doing.
Yes.
That is not programming from the center. She told me the majority of the people that come to her classes are white people. And that she's not
That
going to
wasn't-
continue doing Zumba here because they don't want to come to this neighborhood. That's not programming for the Mexican people.
They were invited. She invited people.
It
If they
doesn't
don't
matter,
come,
it
Cindy,
doesn't, that's not
you
programming
can't
for
make
the
people
Mexicans.
come.
Yeah, that is the most ridiculous thing. Because when you hold something for Mexican people, they show up. They're outside your building right now. If you
Well,
hold
they didn't come in,
something,
but-
Tell them to come in.
if you, see, the question is, why aren't you telling them to come in? Why aren't you having
Our
events
doors
for
are
them?
open. So, I've never met you before, but anyway, I'm glad that we can meet.
That one
I mean, the whole, everything that has happened, that happened. A lot of people, maybe people got hurt, whatever. I wasn't here for a lot of it, so I don't know the backstory like you or Christine would. But if you want to help make change now, you are welcome to. We want people to be able to participate. You want to create some.
We want to have programming here.
Let's
We
do
want
it.
to open, there is.
I'm Mexican, okay?
That's good.
And I am proud of my culture, like everybody should be proud of their culture. If you want to plan some events, let's do it. But there's no need to focus on the Mexican community only.
Why not?
I think that there is a need to, not only to focus on the Mexican community. We haven't had here in the last 2 years, because you don't know the history, let me tell you what the history is. There hasn't been anything for the Mexican community. The majority of the events that have been held here have been for non-Mexicans, and that's wrong. What it should be is not excluding Mexicans. The first thing that should happen in any rule that you guys come up with in the
I don't
future
think we should
is
exclude
that
anybody, though.
excluding Mexicans is the opposite of what the center that was created by a Mexican for Mexicans should be doing. It's the opposite. Yes, we can include everybody else, but that shouldn't be our primary focus. Our primary focus should be the African American community. It shouldn't be the GLBT community. It shouldn't be, no, it should be the Mexican community. And then from there, it should branch out to the Latino community. And from there, it should branch out to the rest of the community. But it shouldn't focus primarily on white-centered people events. And that's what it has been. That's why I'm saying we need to change that. That's what I'm talking about
And you
changing.
want to plan events?
Yeah, we do.
It's not about planning events. That's not what the community is providing programming
Let's
to
provide those
support
programs.
services
We
to
need
the
people
community. It's
who
not
are
about
welcome
planning
to join.
events, because you guys have planned plenty of events from what I've already heard, and from what already has come to me. Like your parties that you throw here, where minors attend and drink, and you can't even begin to deny it, you can't. Because you've advertised it on Facebook, you guys have done, you've advertised coming here and throwing parties here where minors have attended, where minors have gotten intoxicated, where you've had minors throwing up, and if you don't know, and throwing up means that your body has consumed too much alcohol. It's the body's way of telling you too much. Okay, so you
They're
can't
not
tell me that
aware
you're
of
having
like parties,
alcohol.
like Centro is not throwing parties for people.
Centro advertised the parties
On Facebook.
on Facebook to be here.
And you went and you guys asked for money from the other clubs and organizations on campus for food for your parties here. Yeah, you have.
And there are police reports
Yeah.
that were generated as a result of those parties happening here. So,
And you've had other students from MSUM contact the school also
but
because
those are things that are very problematic for people in the community, because we know
Yeah,
that the
like,
social
I'm not
center
actually
can be
aware of
lost.
it.
you guys have had events for the GLBT here. The only program you guys have had here in the past 2 years is the after-school program, and that is not even run or supported by any money or funds provided by Centro. It's from an outside organization.
Have money to support programming at this time. Again, I will
Doesn't
tell
matter.
you.
You can still have programming even if you don't have
Yes,
any money.
that's
Because
why
there's
we
people in
had-
the community that have said, hey, we want to have programming at Centro.
I volunteered here over a year ago, and I provided for you guys between myself and another student from NDSU, 5 different companies that had grants. And we put in, we filled out all the application and everything, and the only thing that we asked of you guys was for the tax ID that was required. And you guys denied us a tax ID, and therefore we missed the deadline, and nothing could be done
Who denied you a tax ID?
between either you or
I am not
Christina.
the director. I'm not the director. Understand.
But if
We
there's no
are
director,
aware
then
with
the
the board
board
members,
makes the
that's right.
decisions.
I didn't even know that there was a request for this IE number. You need to understand that we have
You okay?
a skeleton
It's weird
crew.
because there's no director, so you can't blame the director because there isn't one. You can't say, well, the director
But
didn't
we're
know.
not trying to
But the
blame
board-
anybody
But
right
the
now.
Do you
board
not understand
also
what's
doesn't
going
know.
on?
But you
That's
don't
right.
know.
That's right, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, these
I'm
things
trying to
happen.
explain. They did happen, and what are you gonna do to change them?
Well, obviously, we need to have board members that know what's
Who's
going
our
on the
board?
board. That are
Yes.
like aware, that have been at the meetings and can go, yes, that happened, or no, that didn't happen. She's talking about something that was brought to the board, you're on the board, and you don't know about it. We're talking about these parties that were being held here that were advertised by Central, but you don't know about it.
No, I do not know.
That's a problem, don't you think? Because I think that the people that are on the board should know what's happening in the organization. If there's no director, you can't ask anybody else. You have to ask the board because you're responsible. You're legally responsible as a board member.
Right, that's why we need more
All
people
of
to be
the, all of the people that are on the board
Please speak
are
up
legal,
about
So then
legally
explain to me,
responsible.
why was Yastin gonna be being a member of the board?
I don't have a board application. I don't know why she was denied, because she wasn't denied if we did not have a board application.
Myself, you got my application 2 years ago.
What happened there?
Do you want a new one?
Yeah,
We
we
would love
got
to
a
have
bunch
you, please.
over there. The whole folder. So whatever happened in the past, today you're coming here, you're excited about it, we're excited about having you. And from here on out, fill an application. It has our contact numbers in there.
Well, I think it's really important, Christina, because I think this is really, really important. I think it's really important that we figure out where we failed,
Come see me.
because that needs to be corrected.
Okay,
That needs to
I'll
be
tell you
corrected.
right now.
I love you.
There's a plan for transition to have, you know, institutional retention, okay? Retention's one, but also institutional memory, not losing that institutional memory. Every time you have a director that leaves, and you have several board members that leave at the same time, what do you have? You have to survive on what you have, okay? That's where it gets hectic.
But there's people in this community who have been part of Centro since it started. All you have to do is talk to them to find out what their role was.
Yeah.
Manuel Zuniga, Anita Zuniga.
I don't have those names, I don't have those contacts.
I've been giving them to every director you've had,
Yep.
including Papo, saying the history of this organization is known by a lot of people in this community, mine included. I helped Hector Martinez start this place.
And Candace Krill Falcone have been a wall keeping the Mexican community out. That you have been complicit in doing that because we have reached out through every means available to us. I'm not crazy.
I'm pretty
I
sure
wrote
you
an
didn't.
email.
Did you call
She
me?
talked to me. She talked to me and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't get back to you." I think that she's pointing out that you've been on the board. I think that I'm pointing out that you've been on the board and you've been involved in hearing all these board meetings where these decisions have been made. And we've heard from the board members, we've been really frustrated on the board. We were angry and upset. Martha's been my friend. I don't know how well you know Martha. Are you good friends with her? Okay. Martha's been my friend for a long time. Ever since I moved here,
Is Martha
practically.
here today?
No, she's not here today. No, but she told me that she was going to be busy. She was going to try to make it though.
I'll also talk to her.
Good. When Martha came and talked to me about what was going on here, she was very upset, and she said that is why she was leaving. And she came and talked to me before she left. She felt bad because I asked her to be on the board. My brother, who's also on this board, he left because of what was going on here at Centro. Berta, she left because of what was going on here at Centro. All of those people gave their support to this protest, and they had problems with what was going on the board. And it's interesting that all of these problems have culminated with Candace Krill leaving, right? She's not on the board anymore?
What do you mean? It all happened after she...
I think it's interesting that this has culminated in not having any board members except for you who've been on for a couple of weeks. You who've been on for how long?
I've been on for a little bit.
How much? A month? 2 months?
Attending meetings maybe about a month.
Okay, 1 month,
But
2 months, 1 month, 2
I
months?
studied abroad, so I wasn't able to join.
That's fine, that's fine, that's fine. I'm just saying, the only person that's here that has been here for years is you.
And, okay.
Everybody else has left, and all of the other people that left, whom I can speak to as well, who I've talked to, said they left because of the crap that you guys were doing, and you're the only one left. So that's telling, because these are not stupid people. This is Marta Castañon, this is Abner Arauza, this is Berta Vasquez, this is my brother. These are all people that hold positions in this community. My brother was on the Human Rights Commission. Marta has worked with the Migrant Legal Program for many, many years.
I'm very
She's
aware.
well known. Okay, well,
Very
you know.
aware. Okay,
And you know
so-
that there's a problem that has to be fixed.
Okay, what problem are you addressing that your brother left, that Martha left? Because this all happened at different times.
Yep.
When I came on, I agreed to be...
It takes a long time to destroy an organization. It takes a while. It takes a while to screw it up this way. To spend all the money and not have provided any programming except for what was being brought to you. $120,000 over 3 years,
Actually,
plus whatever United Way gave you,
where
plus
do you get
whatever
120?
headwaters.
Where do you get 120?
I'm talking about the full grant amount. I'm talking about the fact that that money hasn't,
It
whatever
didn't get
you've
spent,
gotten
it
so
didn't come
far,
here.
whatever you've gotten, you have not used for program, for the community. You haven't done any events for the community.
Like, can we talk about like historically what exactly happened in the course of like these 2 years? Because Nayel is new, I'm new, but you two seem to have like a good like history. Can we go
I don't
over
think
like
it's. I don't think
what-
it's like.
I don't think that's something that, I mean.
It's
then,
to understand like
Right.
to understand a little bit of the
But right
present. You
now-
need to like
Right.
run through the past. And
But right now, what we want to do is we want to move forward. If you guys have all this energy, we are excited. We want that to be able to get this back up to what the community needs, right?
Well, first of all, I think that this place needs a director, like pronto. This place needs programming yesterday. Like months and months ago, this place needs programming. We're ready to go over when the municipal was here to come and do skill development programming to help people develop media skills so that they could create their own, so they can do social media work,
Social networking, yeah.
so that they can create their own podcasts, so they can learn to record their own things, learn to do editing and video and audio with whatever software is available online. It's free, so it's open source. We work with people from all different income levels and access levels so that they can work on stuff that they can access at the library or maybe at a friend's house, but they can still create something. We also wanted to hold a weekly movie night where we played Mexican movies or Mexican themed movies or documentaries, and we had a potluck and people came and then discussed the movies afterwards. And we also wanted to hold organizing meetings to discuss the issues that are facing us on a regular basis. Immigration reform, DREAM Act 2, all of the things that are going on around us that really need to be discussed at the Mexican Community Center. Those things should be.
Those are things that I would be excited for because, I'm from Pelican Rapids and
There's a lot of Mexicans
right,
up there.
and I'm not aware of most of the Mexicans that are up here. So, having something like that would be great. I would love that because then I would be able to, kind of have that.
But
as
you also
well.
need to have people on your board that are from this community that have been here for a long time. And it
we
should be
welcome
telling to you when the people that have been on the board for a really, really long time, that have been the founders in this community, when they leave the organization, that should be a red flag. You should be going, what the hell is going on?
It's not to focus, it's not to badger you or make you feel like we're pointing the fingers at you. That's not the point of this. The point is that you need to be able to identify where your leadership went wrong. Not so much you and Cristina, la profesora que just went on.
No. Candace Cole.
Thank you.
When did she
where
leave?
your leadership, that was just recently.
When did she leave?
But last meeting she presented her resignation.
Last meeting. So right after I asked for the protest, she quit?
Well,
That's telling. See?
So the point is that you need to be able to identify where your leadership went wrong, why the organization that had such a deep foundation went wrong. Because if you can't identify where your weaknesses are, you are bound to repeat those same weaknesses.
If I actually write them out and identify it for them, will you listen?
The weaknesses? We can tell you what the weaknesses are. We're here to tell you what the weaknesses are. When we came over here to protest, we came over here with a mission. We wanted to let you know what Centro needs. And you don't have to go looking for it because the people that want to be participants in Centro, they're standing right in front of you.
let's go bring them in.
They know what they want. They want programming back at Centro. They want cultural events happening
We
here.
never wanted it to leave. We never wanted it to go away.
How come there's not even an answering machine? When you call here, there's not even an answering machine. Who's responsible for taking the calls?
We don't have a director.
Do you have an answering machine? Because I'm sure that if you posted on your Facebook page, hey, Centro doesn't even have an
This is
answering
what we
machine.
need. This is honest to God what we need. We need people to come in here. We need people to volunteer. We need people to be a part of this that are actually have time and not one person.
How come
can
you
do
haven't
this.
asked anyone?
Cindy.
How come you haven't asked? I need to know. You have a Facebook page. You haven't posted anything on it for months. Can you not type words and say, hey, we need volunteers, Mexicans in the community?
Not so much going to the classes at MSUM and asking
Yeah.
students for money and students to be part of be on the board, because then that way it connects them. Like sometimes, I think you guys mentioned something as like a membership. If you're part of the
You're a student and
organization.
you want to be on the board?
No, you guys were advertising to the student body at MSUM to be members. Okay, you don't need people that are in and out of this community.
You need people that are,
in
yeah, because the
this
foundation
community.
of this community is the kids. It's the families.
Yes,
It's
I
the
am.
grandmas. No, don't condescend to me. That's the truth.
I'm
We
not
are.
condescending to you.
Yes,
haven't
you
decided
are.
to listen. I am not condescending to you.
Well, no,
have
because
not.
you, no, but
have
listen,
listened.
you need to listen. The board needs to listen to the community. That's why we came here to protest, because we've called, we've written, we've emailed, now we're protesting.
There's no
And
one
what
here
you
to
guys
answer
should
the
do,
phones.
what you guys should do, I know, I get that. But what you're here right now, you have ears, you can listen.
I'm listening to you, but
And
that's not gonna.
as board members,
like,
then
answer
it's
the
the
phone.
responsibility, if you don't have a director and you're a committed board member, then the responsibility falls onto you guys to come in here and answer the phones, to come in here and open the doors. Because if you volunteer the way you said, and you're committed to this, then that's what you need to do. And if that's what needs to be done,
Or
then
you
that's
need
what
to,
you
or you
need
need to advertise on your Facebook page, on your website, we need volunteers who can come in from this time to this time.
Let's do it right now. You wanna sign up?
Yeah, you should put it online. Put it online so that it's available to the community. Because you don't have to wait until a bunch of angry people show up at your doorstep and say, you need to do this. You can
You
take the
didn't
time.
have, actually, you didn't have to do that in the manner that you did either. Anyone.
Yes, I did, because we wrote, we called.
You never
I
called me.
sent.
I'm
was-
not
wait,
here.
oh, wait
I'm
a
not
minute, I thought you
here.
said
I'm
you weren't
not
the director. Right, you keep saying that, so why was I supposed to call you? Why was I supposed to call you?
I'm the board chair and I'm responsible. You just
Where is that advertised? Where does it say you're the board chair?
How
Or
did you know? You obviously know board
Did you, I did not know you were the board
Because
chair, you
before
just
you
said
two
that.
started,
Now you
before
all
you
know.
two started.
Okay,
it
right,
was only
but where is it
two other-
advertised?
I'm
How are we
sorry,
supposed
were
to
you good
know?
friends with Marcación? Because, okay, then how would you not know? She was on the board.
I knew
You're
she
so
was on
good
the board,
friends. She knows she's doing Zumba here. Who'd she talk to?
right?
The community does not know who's on the board.
You
Nobody
can
in
ask her. You can ask her who set up Zumba. Who'd she
So,
talk to?
you guys, if you guys wanna know who's on the board, you have to call Marta Castañon, because they don't advertise it
No,
anywhere.
Cindy,
You
you're
didn't
a very
file
smart
it.
person and you know what's going on. You set up this whole thing.
And everybody
You
in
never
this
spoke to
community
me
is,
personally.
and I was supposed
Anybody who's
to?
coming here,
I was supposed to, so you're the director now.
so you know what? You're gonna blame
Which
me for
is it?
everything.
Are you not the person to talk to, or are you the
You
person
don't
to talk
have
to?
a director. If you need to contact somebody, the only thing that's gonna happen is you
Is
personally
you.
contact me.
How is any,
The board,
and how?
Which you all are welcome
But
to join.
who's supposed to know that? Because you didn't even file a 990 last year. The board members aren't listed anywhere. The only legal documents that you're supposed to file by law to identify who your board members are, where your funding is at, you did not file, right? Because it's not available, and if you had filed it, it would be available online.
And in the past 2 years,
No answer, huh?
you saying right now, if you
didn't
want
file
to
it?
join the board, then come and join the board.
Did you
is
file a
the maximum of
990?
advertisement that you've had. Because they
I'm right
have
here.
been
Do you have a
informed.
990?
We've had several people contact them.
Christina.
Several people have submitted
I'm
their
speaking in
applications.
English though,
And
right?
they've all been denied.
Did you file a 990? Or am I supposed to ask somebody else?
you gotta back up, right? Just get out of
Or am I supposed to ask, well, you're not answering me. You're not gonna answer the question. Did you file a 990?
Because I would
Because
like
you
to
didn't file a
explain.
990?
I would love for you to know what happened with Centro
That is
the
your
last 2
legal
years.
obligation to file a 990, all right? What?
What is the reason then? Because I've been here since I first moved here.
3 years ago.
3 years ago, and I've been coming here every time I've known them. First, I knew Papo, and I knew the other guy, Nito, somewhat. Papo passed down my number to him too, because I'm kind of like help get people to come volunteer from the high school when I used to go there. So, I'd be willing to hear your stories.
There's been nothing here. And my kids are testament that they've come here and that there has not been one single program that has been run out of this center. The only thing was the after-school care program, and that was run through another organization, Youth Works, not even you guys.
Right, and it wasn't centered on Mexicans. Have you done your legal duty? Have you filed your 990?
Are you ready to be helpful, or are you just gonna continue
Can we
this?
not ask you for accountability?
You can ask me whatever you want, and I'll reply.
Will you answer whether or not,
I'll
you will reply in
writing.
writing?
I'm getting tired
Is
of
that,
this.
is this how you're going to treat the community? You don't have to listen to us.
Unfortunately,
We
you're
are.
the only one
You're
here.
the only one here. You're the only board people left. You've got two new people that don't know anything. The only person that's been here the longest is you, and you're gonna respond to us in writing. That's unacceptable, Christina.
No,
You have to
everybody would like to sit down
answer.
and talk reasonably.
You have to answer somebody's question, whether it's ours or the Attorney General's. But you will answer the questions about your legal obligations, because in 990, you have to file. You're telling me that I'm supposed to magically know by psychic powers that if I want something, if anyone in this community wants something, they're supposed to call you. But you didn't fire in 990. We don't know who the board chair is. We don't know who any of the board members are. We don't know any of your information, because you didn't do your job.
The only information that you guys have posted on Facebook, on your website, is within the past maybe week.
What would
Because
you like
prior
to do from
that,
now on? Yesterday was yesterday, we have today, and we have tomorrow.
I'm
What do
sure you
wanna
would
do?
like it to be gone, but we need to know what the financial situation is of the
I
organization
will
to
fill
lift
you
it
all
up.
in.
When?
Like
In
when I-
writing later, when you don't have to see us face to face, when you
I'll
can
give you
ignore
my
us?
phone number. In the file, there's the board information,
But
contact
you can't
information.
have an adversarial relationship to the people in the communities that want to ask you questions. If this has gone down wrong, you're gonna have to face it. You can't run away from it. And you can't treat us like you can't be bothered to deal with us because you're just sick and tired of it. Because this is our community center. The people on the board are responsible to answer to the community, and this is not the only time that you're gonna hear about it. Okay? You're gonna have a lot of people knocking on your door demanding the center back. They're going to
maybe
come
what
in
you should
and use
do
it.
is a suggestion, schedule a meeting,
Yeah.
with the community.
Yeah.
And have all the community that wants to come and ask you questions to come. And
Would you
then,
like to schedule that meeting?
no, this is not my responsibility, it's your
Why are
responsibility.
you passing the buck?
Because I am a volunteer board member, okay? When I came
Very,
here.
very volunteer.
Yes, there's no payment here. I don't lose the money, I don't benefit from it. I've been here and I've tried to get people to, we lost.
That's not what I heard.
Berto, what?
That's not what I heard.
You've had several people ask you to be on the board, and you have been very, very
Well, you're not
tight.
gonna know what happened
tight
because I keep getting
getting
told
anyone
the
in.
same thing over and over again.
Well, we know that people have applied to the board and you haven't accepted them. And you don't happen to know what happened to those
I
applications.
don't. I will tell you this, but you won't listen.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
When Papa left in 2011, I was asked to be on the board by Christina Rosita, okay? She asked me to come on the board, and I didn't have any board experience, and so I applied because I'm a community member. I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years. Okay, so I came to get a board application and fill it out, find who I talked to. I was part of the community and somebody asked me to be here. I've only been here on a volunteer basis to help with different parties or different things like that. That's the extent of my knowledge of the organization. So when I came here, I came very brand new, like other brand new board members. And we had board trainings, there were other new board members that came on. And they came and gone. And Jose, went to Texas, and his wife, she was staff here, they were working. So they came and left. We had Marta Castañón. You want to know? I want to tell you guys because it's really important, but I don't think she really wants me to know.
We're gonna have a contest.
I really want you to know what's been going on here since I've been here. And since I have been here, I'm the one with that knowledge of what I've experienced. My experiences, I think, are valid. And my truth and what I have to say, I think, is valid. Because I've been here and I've struggled through this. So I came on probably late 2009. So we did board trainings, we went to seminars, and we had another nonprofit organization that partnered with our organization to try to.
So you guys are the board.
As of right now, yes.
I'm like the only board member left from like 2000.
Si te puedo preguntar, una pregunta, si te puedo hacer.
Yes, you're so sweet.
¿Quién es el señor de acá atrás?
Este es Mark Olper. Es una de las personas que está en la comisión del Consejo de la Ciudad de Morelia. Y no sé por qué esté aquí ahorita, pero me imagino que ha estado trabajando con ellos.
Oh, we're working on the prosperity act for, yeah, you're just about like, yeah, so we're Ola's, part of the open house we have today was put on by Ola wanted to thank, get people to sign up, for the prosperity act, because that's something that, we had talked to Ben about, it's like the prosperity act for like, students, undocumented students, and, so we talked to Ben and then, so a lot of people Okay, so we're an organization that basically, you know, I pay for the lights and electricity and things like that. We don't have to pay rent because we own the building, but I mean, there's fuel costs, we have oil fuel, the lights, there's,
The lights must be really expensive.
so it's like the basic.
So are you saying that all of it, the money goes to that there's not enough funding to get the community involved and keep these kids, busy through the summer?
Sure, and then you gotta pay for the staff. If you have staff, you have to pay for them to continue the program and write the grants. Because to write the grants, you need somebody to write and ask them to continue the funds because you can't just survive on insurance.
If you're not asking for the funds and providing, you honestly think you're going to get the grants to be able to do something for them?
Okay, so do you want to have the rest of it?
I'm just asking, my husband is Hispanic, I'm married into Hispanic. I see the both side and how I get treated as well. I think it's awful because he was very much involved in these things as well as Cinco in the community, and I don't see it with the kids.
Okay.
So
that's the director's position, right? The director is the one, and like the program director and development director. You have to have somebody that works on, identifying those funders, right? And finding out who you're gonna write grants to, how you fit in.
Have you guys done any more grant writing?
So
I'm still here though. You can't be rude to that. It doesn't matter. We're asking you questions and you don't want to answer.
rude, and I don't.
You are being rude. When I ask you a question, you say, I'm talking to
Why
her.
don't you be rude?
How is it being rude asking you questions?
I can say that I can be just as rude.
We
The rest of it are nice.
Do you want to tell us a story we don't want to hear? We're asking you questions you don't want to answer. We want you to tell us the stuff we want to know. You listen. Let me just say something. Have you been an executive director of an organization? Have you?
No, Cindy, I have.
I have.
Here, Duke, put me on.
Duke has.
Cindy, why don't we sit down?
Yeah, we can. I'd love to. But
Then let's stop this and sit down.
okay.
Sit down.
Do you know?
Cindy,
Yeah, we can. I'd love to. But
then let's stop this and sit down.
okay.
Sit down.
Do you know stuff about the organization?
I've run nonprofit organizations.
I know, but I'm asking. I'm
I
asking
was
her
executive
about.
director of a nonprofit organization. I run the company.
Right, but I'm asking her about this one. What's happened here?
So let's sit down instead of having a conversation. Have you signed the card?
No, I haven't.
I signed the card.
I don't
On
even
no
know-
programming, we're doing legislative action right now. That's the legislative action that's taking place.
I haven't heard anything about this.
Why not?
Because Centro hasn't advertised it because.
I'm here.
I know, but I'm not psychic. I didn't know
Bring
you
you
were
my
going
friend
to
on Facebook.
be. Right,
Have you invited me here?
right, but I didn't know that there
Now,
was
we're
going to be
doing
a.
legislative action. You haven't signed the cards yet.
Well, I know, because we
Right,
came
Duke?
in to
Have
do
you
an
signed the cards
action.
yet? Then
No.
why haven't you signed the cards yet? Have you made phone calls to Ben Lean yet?
I have, yes.
Okay.
And I actually had put out information about the Prosperity Act.
We're
and
working today to
right.
work on the path.
And I'm going to sign your letter, and I'd be happy
My
to.
letter?
Or I'm going to
This
sign.
is my ward. I'm here working with the
Right,
people
right.
I'm elected to represent.
I know what you're saying, but I'm here doing a protest because we came here to find out what's going on with
That's great.
Centro, and I
there's
don't.
a lot of questions.
And I
mean,
don't.
with most nonprofits, you ask about the 990, and take a look at the hundreds of nonprofits over the last 3 years that have lost their 990. A lot of people have had filing problems, especially not small nonprofits. And if they're out of compliance with the Attorney General, that's easy to take care of. Many small nonprofits have run into the same thing. The Bremer grant, which I helped popularize, can easily be brought back into compliance. And in grant writing, I've already had conversations with Christine to bring in volunteers. They need a lot of help. They need a lot of help. You can have the professional help.
Well, I know,
And
but
a
they.
protest
But
is great.
but here's-
I don't have any problem.
Here's
with
the problem, Mark. There's been, she's here, there's a lot of people here that have come and gone that have said that they brought programming ideas, that they wanted to volunteer, that they wanted to serve on the board, and they were ignored.
And that's wrong.
And that means we can't come and provide the services
Hey,
and the,
I've had
and the.
programming I've wanted to bring in as well, but when Papa left, it really created a void in the hole. I mean, I was working with Papa on a community garden project, had it approved by the city for Centro to take over the hockey rink over here on a 3-year lease to do community gardening. And we've been reaching out to Joan Jamie Holding Eagle and the rest of the community. We have Probesfield on board. we would love to see more pro. I would. You know, I have no interest in this other than making sure that immigrant kids, non-documented immigrant kids in Minnesota, get access to in-state tuition and the rest. And that's what, I mean, that's what we could be working on today. The board, yeah, and who hasn't worked for organizations that flounder? But don't destroy it to rebuild it.
I'm not trying to destroy anything. What I'm talking about is we need answers. We try to find out who was on the board. Duke and I wrote a proposal to Centro. We tried to get a hold of people on the phone. I wrote emails, and I got no response. So I know what happened to Papa.
Okay, and I read your letter, and you said what happened to Papa. You know what happened to Papa. I know what happened to Papa.
I know what happened to Papa. What I'm asking for is the rhetorical question. Why wasn't it announced to the people? We don't have a director.
Why wasn't what happened to Papa announced to the people?
Why isn't it announced to the people that we don't have a director?
Well,
we no longer have a director, community. So we're going to need volunteers to come in
absolutely.
to help provide
and that's
services.
and I hope that's what you take away from this today is if you've got the energy to invest in the Latino community, in this neighborhood. I mean, look at where we were 15 years.
We live in this neighborhood.
Hey, I've got people who refuse to come to this neighborhood because they think it's still what it was 15, 20 years ago. And I tell people, I walk through this neighborhood, I park my car, you guys live close, I live close. I mean, I had, when the former nonprofit I was in, they said, where are you going to buy your house? I said, I'm going to be 6 blocks south of MSUA. They said, are you sure you want to live there? Yeah, I love it. And we're seeing property values increase. We're seeing the Latino community that was here 15 years ago investing into the neighborhood, buying houses, doing fantastically well. And that's great. Now we're surrounded by a new immigrant community. And hopefully the Latino community that has prospered over the last 15 years can reach out to the Bosnian community and the Sudanese community and the other communities that are here in Rocky. I mean, because it's a different community. At the same time, absolutely, Centro has a obligation to work with not only Mexicans, but the Latino.
But that's his primary.
I know. Well,
that should be his primary. His primary should be Latino.
Well, I mean, you want to say, and I understand that it should be focused on Mexicans. I don't know.
I think if the Norwegian Center was suddenly hijacked and it was just supposed to include all European.
The Sons of Norway are there, but I mean, if you take a look.
But you can't take that away.
But you take a look at what happens in every June over at the Hjemkomst. It's the Icelanders and the Finns and the Swedes and the Norwegians. They hold on to their identity, but they put together a great. I mean, set the Mayo, you know, that the Independence Day for my people is in.
I think the purpose of her being here today and the purpose of me being here today is just we understand the history and we understand that up to 3 years ago, Centro had a purpose and was fulfilling their mission. From that 3 mark on, there has been no action, and the purpose of us being here is to find out why wasn't something done, and if so.
Well, let's not lay link, but the executive director who I was working with up until those last days left no succession plan.
But there's
been 3 years, and in the 3 years I've been here, I have not once heard any type of advertisement for anybody to come in.
And there was a succession plan, Mark, because we actually worked with Papo, and he was his mentor. He sent him to do his organizing training in Minneapolis. I went with him to the organizing training.
And I worked with Papo. I got him into Blandon and members of Centro into Blandon leadership training. Helped write the grant that you're talking about, which is a matching grant. My fingerprints are all over that.
And so when after that happened, we provided him with the work that Octavio and I did at those dinners.
Yes.
And we came up with a report. It was very, very detailed about what the community wanted. They were very specific about what they wanted to work on. That was the footprint, the blueprint of the work.
But I would say this. You know, when you bring up Lori Swanson and question the 990, that is serious and that needs to be handled organizationally. Going public with it will, I want to talk about destroying the organization. You know, Duke knows, I've worked with PEP, as soon as the organization's reputation is destroyed, you will not get private funders to come in. I mean, there are folks who will back away, including the city of Oregon, that helps keep these doors open. and I mean Youth Works funded through the Moorhead Police Department, through grant funding, will back off, and lights will go out.
Right.
And I don't know if you have the capacity through the People's Crest Project to raise the funds necessary to keep this place going. One of the fiduciary responsibilities of a board of directors is to make sure that you have the money to keep the lights on. If the water gets turned off, you're evicted. And this whole thing, the whole thing goes down. So you have an opportunity, a small window of opportunity. And yes, have the last 3 years been squandered?
Yes.
And the reputation has
The
been
reputation-
destroyed. The
Yes.
reputation has
The
slowly been
reputation-
destroyed
Yes.
It's
for
been
the past
eroded.
3 years by their lack of action. And whose
And
fault
you
is
know what?
that?
You can have
The
a-
board members.
And you know what?
And
You
they
can have a
have to be
building
held
that's open,
accountable.
but if the people don't, the Mexican people don't want to come here anymore, it doesn't matter if you have a building. You've lost the heart of the organization when you've lost the people.
It does matter to the people in the neighborhood that I represent and was elected to represent.
It
that-
matters to
that
the
Youth
people that
Works
want
is
to come
here
here.
and
Yeah,
Youth
but
Works
it
is
wasn't,
saving
but
lives.
Centro was not created for Youth Works. Centro was not created for that. Centro was created to preserve Mexican culture and to improve the lives of Latinos. That's what that was.
Is that the
that was-
mission statement?
That was the originally
I
was.
thought
That
it was
was
to empower Latinos and the community of Fargo-Moorhead to create social change.
that was just recently changed.
Okay, but that's
the organization was
but that is,
created.
If that, it doesn't
Well,
matter. The board acted and changed the mission
Right,
statement.
in the last 3 years,
So
it was
the mission
squandered.
statement
But
is
not
what?
a full board, not a full
Not a
board,
full
not
board.
a
And
board that
representative
represented
No,
this
and not a
community.
representative board of this
No,
community.
no,
Without ever
no.
discussing it with the community,
Where's
they
the
changed
bylaws?
it.
The bylaws say what? You need how many Latino members on the board?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I was never on
I
this
mean, you're
board.
saying that you understand.
I don't know what the bylaws of this organization
those bylaws
are.
have changed,
The
too.
bylaws have been changed.
Then you don't know and I don't know. So
Right.
we're coming from a point of ignorance here, right? I mean, you don't know and I don't know.
Well, no, I
You
know,
wanna
I know this center was developed for the Mexican community.
Yep.
I know the people
But
that like
organizations
helped do
evolve
it.
and change.
We have a community that has not been included. I think the idea of doing community meetings, open community meetings, you could bring people back. You could have the center of the Mexican community right here, knowing that there's something that's owned by the
I mean,
community.
and I'm not gonna get in the middle of this one. My concern is the center is serving the neighborhood that I was elected to represent.
Yeah, but
That's
it's not
what-
It's
serving
not
the people.
serving, it's not serving this.
It hasn't been
neighborhood.
serving the people and
It
it
has
hasn't been
not.
serving. Having the doors open doesn't mean it's serving anybody. It hasn't
not
served
serving
anyone.
anyone.
And you know what? Here's something that's really disturbing. When she's talking about Centro advertising at the university through their website for students to come here and drink, have underage drinking parties.
I've never-
And for there to be 2 police reports that are already
I
filed.
have not. This is the first time I've heard of that.
For the money that has been coming into this organization, not to have any accounting, for 3 of the board members to have left and told me that they weren't able to get anybody to give them any accounting of what's going on. If there is embezzlement going on, and the community hasn't even been allowed to use the facilities for anything, not even for a Cinco de Mayo party, it's beyond wrong.
Abner Arauza was not, he didn't resign.
He did not
Abner
resign.
Arauza,
He
he
was
was
kicked out.
kicked out.
And in
Kicked
a-
out
and
because
in a- in a
because if
horrible
Abner
way.
was sitting here, I guarantee you that the little smirk that you just had on your face would change. It would.
It should
Because
be in the board.
your story and his story, totally
Where's
different.
Abner
And Abner was one of the founders
Talk
here.
to him.
Is he here? Or is he
No, he's not here.
He's not home because his wife is sick.
No, but I mean, is he still in the community?
Oh, yeah,
He's still in the community.
Yeah.
But he wasn't willingly, he didn't willingly resign from
No, and all of
from
the people
board.
that gave letters to her, that she says gave her letters that left, like my brother, like Berta, like Marta, I'm sure they wrote a very cordial letter for the preservance of the organization, to preserve the organization.
You
for the
had board
same
members
reasons.
leave PEP.
Yes,
Our organization
but if
still
somebody
did
tells
the work.
you,
I know, but I mean, I had board members leave my organization. Duke had to
right, but if you have several of the founding people, Abner
Oh,
Rouse
I've
has
had-
been in this community for a long time. He's been instrumental
Abner is fantastic.
in this
There's no doubt.
organization.
His reputation is
For
as
him to
good as it
be,
gets.
for him to be kicked out, pushed out, for this organization to be focusing on white centered events, on LGBT
well-
community, on non-Mexican, on non-Latino.
But you
events.
said,
That
but
is
what
not
you
fair.
said though, Cindy, is true, is that the organization is separate from the facility.
Yeah.
And the organization will exist whether the facility's here or not. So if the facility is being used to host GLBT, which is something you and I both hold close to our heart.
Yes, but not to the exclusion of Latinos. Do you understand that? When there's been no programming for Latinos at all, the only
if
thing
other-
that's being held here in the last 3 years is stuff
But that's
for
a
non-Mexicans,
failure
non-Latinos.
that's a failure that Central put through all.
Especially when we've been
Board
asking.
members.
Board
Well-
members. When we've been asking. Yeah, go
But
ahead.
Like you said before, how I remember how you said that the group changes and evolves. Everything changes and evolves. But we were apes once, and we changed and evolved. But in our hearts, we still provide for the family. We still do all that. From what I heard, that the thing was mixed with Latino community. And that's what, just because you change and evolve, because you get a better building or more staff, doesn't mean you just change what the heart is.
no, absolutely, but
Apes
that's.
and everything still has a heart. They may evolve.
But Cindy said it right. I mean, if an organization comes forward, whether it was the women's organization was here, the New Sudanese that came here, if they're willing and able to pay rent,
That's great. That's
and they're
wonderful.
willing to put
But
on.
then you make
no,
sure.
wait, but wait. You're concerned that are not enough programming for.
No, I'm concerned that there's none. There's none. There's zero.
Your concern centers on the fact that there's no programming for the
Right.
Latino community.
Right.
If other groups are able to step up and say, we'll use the facility for Sudanese or GLBT or anything else,
Then the board needs to leave, and we need to bring in a new board that is concerned with having events at the Mexican
But you-
Cultural
you-
Center for Mexicans,
the
in addition
the legal
to all
right
the other people.
to make that decision lies with the current board.
Right. I
And the
understand
board
that.
outright denied membership onto the board.
But that's their right as a private nonprofit organization. They can bring in or deny whoever they
No,
want.
because from what I understand, the bylaws say that there has to be a certain amount of people on the board. And when there's just 2 females on the board and one is
I don't
white
have the bylaws,
and the
and
other one
Cindy
is
doesn't
half,
know it either. I
and
mean,
the
we
other
don't
one,
There has to be.
these are the bylaws that
we're
Abner,
guessing.
these are the Abner, the bylaws that Abner told me and Professor Arauza told me that this organization has. The board member has to have a certain amount. It doesn't even have half of that. And the 2 that they have, one is white, one is half white and half
What's
Mexican.
wrong with being white?
But this organization
or
is for
Latino
Latinos,
organization.
and at least it should be that half of the board members have to
What's
represent
wrong
the
with an
community,
organization
and that's
being
not
led
the
by a
community. 2 women are not the
non-Mexican or
community.
Latinos?
Not
What's wrong?
when one of the women's girlfriend is the one running the after-school program here. That's a conflict of interest,
Yeah.
and that's wrong.
Which after-school program? Youth Works?
YouthWorks was run by what was her name?
Candace Krill Falcone's girlfriend.
Her partner. It's a conflict of interest because when Neto came
What's the
here.
conflict of interest policy of the board?
When Neto came here, he wanted to put an after-school program created here by Centro for Centro, not by another
Well, what's the-
organization,
what's the
and
grant?
they denied it.
What's the grant agreement with Youth Works through the City of Moorhead's Police Department?
I don't know the details on that.
Do you know? I mean,
But there's no reason why Centro shouldn't be able to.
Well, it depends.
create
and I
their
don't
own
know.
after-school
I would
program.
have to go back and take a look at the grant agreement.
Whatever
between
it is,
Youth
I don't
Works.
think that anybody here has a problem with any organization in the community having meetings here, participating in events here, or renting the place, or holding meetings with the Latino community. Nobody here.
But
Does
the
anybody
geo-
here object to having those kinds
But
of things
you-
here?
but what I
What we
overheard was
object
that-
to is not having the stuff for us. Not having a Cinco de Mayo
well,
party
let
ever
me ask, okay.
anymore. Not having
We need you-
meetings for us.
Advocacy. We need you to sign this and get the House of Representatives to move
Right,
on this.
we
'cause
will
have
all agree to
one-
do that, but that's
we
not
have
what we're
one
here to
last
do
chance.
today.
We have
We
one-
can do
well,
that, we can do
We
that,
have one
but
last
that's not what we're
chance
here.
to influence the House of Representatives in the state of Minnesota to
And
get
we
this
will.
through. This is advocacy.
I understand it, but that's
I mean,
not
the one thing I
that's
signed
not
up
the
for today, you
purpose
said
of-
about the website.
That's not the purpose of Centro, and what we're here to do is to make sure that Centro is for the for the
Yeah.
Latino community here in Moorhead. This is great for all Latinos,
Right.
but Centro doesn't represent all Latinos. This represents all Latinos. We want to
Actually, this
help and
represents more
support
than just Latinos.
Okay.
This represents immigrants.
all
from-
immigrants.
Right.
Yes.
But what we want from Centro is to provide services and support for the
Well, do you
Latino
want- do you want a
community
Latino
here.
organization or a Mexican organization?
It
We're-
was started
we're in
by
one.
Mexicans, Mark.
I know.
I'm making the distinction because when you exclude the Mexican community completely, that's a problem, especially when it was started by Mexicans and for Mexicans. Look around. Right over there, there's a pyramid. That's Mexican. The murals outside, They're Mexicans, yes. If there's nothing wrong, I don't think my Colombian sister here.
And Mexicans are Latinos.
And you know what? And you know what? My Colombian sister sitting right next to me right now, she has no problem with this being a Mexican-led organization. It's still run by Latinos, and we still have the best interest of the Latino community at heart. That's not the problem. The problem comes when we try to have a white director. The problem comes when we have a board that is only 2 people
white.
and that is a majority white. That's a problem because our voices still have to run the heart of the organization.
The white was who? Was
I don't know what her name is.
She's white. She's not Hispanic at all.
or what about her kids?
Her kids are half
But she's not-
Hispanic.
her kids
but
are
her
not on the
kids are
board.
not on the board.
Her children are not on the board.
And they're not the
But
voice.
the bylaws, I don't believe the bylaws, do the bylaws say you have to be
It doesn't
Mexican or-
matter. If you're running an organization for Latinos, you need to have a person that's Latino running it.
Any organization.
Any organization.
Any
Question
organization.
here really quick. Who, between, just for example, and no disrespect or anything, between you and I, right? Who understands the Hispanic culture a lot better, you or I?
Well, obviously, I would say what you need to do on a board is bring people in who can get the board
That's not
functioning.
what, that's not what, that's not.
Absolutely, Latino community should
And
be
this
running this board.
this organization was created for Latinos, to improve the lives of Latinos. Who's gonna know how to do that better than a Mexican or a Latino? Who's gonna know?
That's like me running the board. I'm white. My husband's Hispanic. I don't know
Right.
nothing. You guys
Yeah,
want to
you-
learn
And that
Spanish?
doesn't make
You're
you
not gonna
Hispanic,
learn
right?
nothing from
That
me.
doesn't make you Hispanic. You
Exactly.
don't make her Hispanic.
That's
I
right.
understand
Your
the
husband
culture,
doesn't
but
make
that
you
doesn't give me the
Latino.
right
Yeah.
to come in and try to teach you guys something
No, because
that
you're
I
gonna
don't
run it
know.
into the ground.
It doesn't work like that.
Oh, there's no disagreement. All what I'm saying though is in board governance, in nonprofit work that I've done and Duke has done, what you do when you create a board of directors, especially in an emergency situation like this, you've got to set out and say, who can get this ship a right again? And you need, as Christine and I were talking about, you need board members who are willing to understand 990 governance, who understands, you need an accountant, you need a lawyer, and you need to get this ship sailing again. And
Yeah, but
Christine
there's
and
been
I-
a lot of people that have applied and they have been denied.
What I'm saying right now is Latino, absolutely. Right now, you're in a period where, from my conversations with Christine and what I'm hearing here, is this organization in 90 days may not exist. And you can't step in and save it.
So like, what I
And you know, that absolutely breaks my heart. That breaks my heart because I'm a person from this community and this center was made for me and my children and their children. And if in 90 days Central is lost, then the accountability and the fault is her and the other woman. Because they have let this place go right into the ground for
While
their
people
own
have
purpose,
been
for their
asking
own selfish
to come in.
Right, because they've kicked people off the board and they denied people onto the board.
And they've done
Latinas,
things that are
Latinos,
wrong with the
people from this
organization.
You
community.
might only have 90 days. What are you?
No.
This place is open, but what I'm saying, you know, when I got the email from Central Leaders today to come and rake and clean up this week, I signed up. I'll be out here with my rake. I'll be out because this week it's cleanup week.
Oh, and
Needs to be done.
let me tell you, I've brought from my 10-year-old daughter, myself, and my 2 kids. We've come here and I have cleaned the outside, the inside. I've swept, I've mopped. My daughter's painted, I've painted. We've done everything. And when we've done all of this, let me ask you and ask her, where was she? Where were her board members? Nowhere to be found.
This is getting way too personal.
It is personal.
It is
You know
personal
why?
because
this
those
is my
people were the
community
ones
and
that
these
were
are my
running the
people.
organization.
And you don't feel it because you're not Latino.
Listen, you're a council member. And you're the person that runs my ward. And if something goes wrong with my ward, what do?
Contact me.
I call you. I don't call someone else in some other ward. And I don't call Nancy Otto. I don't call them. I call you. And I talk to you. I go, hey, Mark, I have a problem. And you need to tell me what the hell is going on because you're my representative.
But here's the deal.
These are our
But
representatives.
Cindy, when you talked about it, there's no staff.
It doesn't matter. If you're a
There
board,
could have
No,
been
it does
staff.
matter.
There could have been
working
staff.
board.
If you call your city council member, and I forward it on to Mike Redlick, who is the executive arm of the city,
right, he has to
and
respond.
He has to respond.
Right,
I
but-
can't.
but
I can't pick up the phone and tell staff what to do. And under proper board governance, the board of directors has to lie above the staff. And when you have no staff, you have basically a broken organization.
Right.
You need either volunteer or paid staff. There's no money for paid staff.
And they could have had volunteers
And they
because
could have,
the
because
director
we've been
But I mean,
of the
okay,
social work
let's look
department
at-
at MSUM, he had in his curriculum for all of his students to come and volunteer here. Professor Arauza, it was part of her curriculum.
Yep.
Several professors
Berta
at
told me that,
NDSU, MSUM have had their students come here, and the only reason
and
that they
I've
did
done-
it
And
was
Berta
because
told
of the
me-
fault of the board
Right,
of
and
directors and
Berta
letting the
told me that
programs
there was
fail.
a man that wanted to come and teach soccer, and she said that the board denied his
I
request
taught
to do
soccer here a
that.
few years ago.
But it was a Latino man. He was going to come here and teach the kids soccer.
Who was that?
I don't know what his name was. Berta did, but she told me, I don't understand why they wouldn't let him. He was going to provide the equipment. He was going to provide the teaching.
We
They just
did that.
needed to let him use the facility.
We
That's
did that. We
it.
did that
So
about
in
4
90
years
days, what happens?
ago. In 90 days, I mean, it's up to the board. But I mean, if you're down to a limited amount of funds, once the water gets turned off, the place is, you're done.
So right now, they're not able to pay the water bill for this building?
I
I
don't
thought
know.
she
I
said
don't-
that you guys got money, and
So,
that's why you
The
guys have
$120,000 grant that Cindy's brought up, this is what's very
No, I'm
dangerous,
talking
is a
about
matching.
No, she was saying before
Because I
that all
asked
of the
for-
money that
I
has been
worked for a
given to
nonprofit organization, and I got paid diddly squat.
yeah.
But you know what? Working for them, they were able to maintain, but they provided for those
Services.
individuals. There's not been that. My husband has been a part of this community. He grew up here playing and singing for these kids.
Yep.
And his kids
Well,
were a
there's
part of this.
2,500
And look,
Latinos in
he's
this community.
35.
At least, the
There's
last-
a lot. He's
No, there's
35
2,500.
years
I
so
saw
if
the
there's
numbers.
2,500
36.
people in this community, you're gonna tell me that nothing has been done, and they're waiting for Central to die? Because if Central's
Yeah.
gonna,
No,
if
no,
Central's
no,
gonna die in
no,
90
don't-
days, you're gonna
don't-
tell me
what
that
I'm
they can't
saying,
contact the
and this was a-
community to pay the water
This was
bill?
a hypothetical question. If in 90 days, if you have 90 days, what are you gonna do?
We want to demand the center back. We want to take the people that
But
have
if you
been
have 90 days,
have been-
in 90 days, if this place, if you have 90 days, what are you gonna do?
90
The
days
first
to pay
thing
the
that
light
should-
bill.
No, 90 days, you have 90 days. What would you do if you had 90 days?
Well, if I
Dismantle
was
the
on
board,
the board-
dismantle the board that exists now,
Yes.
and recreate the board the
And
way it's
also-
supposed to be.
And
You have to
fundraise.
work with the board.
Well, where did the
The
money
board
go?
has
hasn't done
cornered.
anything for 3 years.
Yeah.
Board has
The
legal-
board has done anything for 3
The
years.
board
now. It has
determines
not.
who is and isn't on the board.
If she
Well,
actually
and they
cares
will
about the
determine
board, then
whether or
let
not
her
the
resign.
organization dies. But she will be held responsible by the community because people will know, her and the other people that recently left, people will know what they did.
But doesn't everybody,
to the
wasn't your brother
organization.
the board chair?
Yeah, over a year ago, and he quit because of the people that
But
were
what
on
did,
the
what,
board.
I worked with Octavia, I know.
Actually, he came in because Nelson Lozano asked me and him
But
to
it's the
actually take
responsibility
over.
of everybody going back, right?
Right, and he stayed on the board for a while, and he said he came onto the board because he was going to change it. He was going to recruit new people, work for a while. He committed to that, and then he left.
Yep, and he was reestablishing the board because there
He
was
was
bad board members before that were screwed up this place. They sold everything.
Yep.
They were abusing the center.
Yep.
We had to get them out. And
he
they
did.
came in by the bylaws, elected new board leaders.
Yep.
I don't know if you were part of that new election.
They were.
It changed over and they left. And
They
this
had-
hap-
they had
this
already
hap- this-
stayed there,
This
their
happened
bylaw
a
time.
previous time. Attorney General stepped in here
Yep.
and replaced the whole board before. Because Mexican community had a protest,
Yep.
wanted accountability. There was a complaint filed, there was an investigation, they came in and said, you have to all leave and you
Yep.
have to have a new slate of people to
Yep.
take over the Senate. And that board was a new established
And the
board.
Bremer people gave a list of people from the community and from the students that they should have vetted, that they should have looked through
And
and
I'm
asked,
way over my, because you're getting into,
and asked
you're
people
getting
to be
into
on
an
the board.
organization, I don't have the bylaws, I have no responsibility other than representing the community.
I've
But I
talked-
don't want to see,
But I have talked to Howard, and I'm just telling you,
Howard Barlow's a good friend of mine.
I know, and I'm just telling you, there have been complaints
Yeah.
but to Bremer and also to the United Way.
They
From the
don't get any
United
United
Way.
Way funding.
They have been, I'm
What would
just telling,
Thomas Hill have to say about that? I know everybody runs it.
all I know is that there have been complaints
So what?
about the organizations running. So people are already, people have, not
they
just
put
in the
their names
Latino
on it?
community, I don't know. All I know is that they're looking into it.
If Centro
So
is
people
the
are
way
already
it is
aware
right
of the
now,
fact that there's a problem
if
here.
it's doing so poorly, and in the past 3 years, and I understand that you can't be on the board for more than 3 years.
Right.
If in the past 3 years, it has gotten to this point so bad, then have those people resign from the board and allow the people that actually do want to be on the board, that want to make changes, that are part of this community, and they're Latinos, to be on the board.
The responsibility of the board at this point would be to sit down and look at applications and see who's got experience, professional qualifications to get this right. I mean, if I was on the board right now, I'd be saying, who can get out and talk to Lori Swanson? Who's got the political connections? You know, maybe they're Anglo, maybe they're Latino. If you're thinking about a 990 problem with the AG, I can think of 2 or 3 people in the community who's going to head that off. I mean, if your interest is preserving the center, or is it taking over the center? And I mean, that critically is the question. Do you want to take over the center?
We
We
want
want to preserve it and have it do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's not the question I asked. Do you want to take over the center, or do you want to preserve it?
Well, in preserving the center, the purpose is to put the center into use, and by putting it into use is technically we got to take it over to be able to
I
work.
do have something to say, because every time we ask a question, it gets pushed.
Yeah.
But you demand for us to answer.
Yeah.
I asked, where's the money going? You guys are paying for Zumba classes.
I'm not-
Do you honestly think these little kids are gonna do Zumba?
How
I
many
mean,
how many
come you
Mexicans
cannot-
need a dance lesson?
How
many
I'm white and I
Mexicans?
need
But
to
how
learn.
many Mexicans need dance lessons?
I mean, really.
Zero. We all know how to dance.
That's
We
not
don't
the
need a
question.
Zumba
The
class. We
question
don't
is,
need salsa lessons.
if you guys are getting money, how come the bills aren't being paid? Are you guys paying your own rent, your fancy cars you're driving? I mean, what? I mean, where's the money going?
Where did the money
If it's not
go?
coming here, and you can't pay the bills.
I'm not part of this organization.
No, I know, but I'm
But I'm
saying,
just saying, where is it going?
where
If
did
it's
the
not
money go?
here,
We
We've
asked her, and she will
and we're not
not
the first
answer.
people to ask. Several people have
If you guys
asked for
get
the
grants, it
accountability.
needs
Show
to be
us.
used for here, and if the money is coming. If I give you guys $200,000, and, okay, if I give you $200,000, and a month down the road, this place is shut down, where did the money go?
In the past 3 years,
mean,
since
don't you
Bremer
think
gave them the
the
money,
community has a
they
right to know that?
cannot be accountable. They can't give us an answer of where that money has gone. Whatever amount
But
of
she
that
has
grant
seen
they
the
received,
documentation of what money has been received. by
There was
the-
25 grand received,
no, there's a letter in that office
an award.
that shows that they were 120.
I wrote the grant, though.
The
I
letter
worked with
came,
Papo to write the grant.
right,
Right,
the
but
letter
did you see
came
the
from
letter she's
Bremer.
talking about?
There was a letter that
There
we
was an award that
found,
I've worked with Bremer grants. It was a 3-year grant.
Right?
but they've received the money.
No, not 120 grand.
No, not the whole thing, but they have
They
received
received
the money.
25 from what I understand. They
They
haven't
have
been able to make
received
the
the
match.
money. And where has that money gone?
Yeah.
The 25 from 2011.
Whatever the amount
That's
is
when Papo
that
was
they
still here, right?
received.
So it would have gone to cover Papo's salary. I'd have to see the grant documentation. I think when we rolled
No,
up
I
the
think they've
financial.
received more than
Yeah.
25. They've received more than 25.
But
I don't remember
when
the
we wrote
details of
grant-
the
when
letter,
we
but
wrote
I
the
saw
grant
that
with Papo and
letter.
I sat down and wrote the grant though in 2011. A good chunk of that was Papo's salary.
There
I know
should-
that I
there
know that
should
I
be
saw something
financials
about a
available.
salary of being like something in the 40s, something like
But
that
she
that I
did say
saw.
she was going to provide us the financials in writing.
Okay.
Right, Christina?
It should be Bremer. You'll be able to pull it up. You'll be able to pull right up the boards off the Bremer website.
Bremer has contacted them and has been saying, why aren't there board members? What, you know,
wanna know what-
I want to see the details. Show me where the money has gone. And they haven't been able to do anything to produce anything.
That's fine. But it's a matter of looking in the files and finding the file that says whatever the file is, right? I don't know.
But if you don't have the time, then don't be on the board.
Is it open? Is there like doors open or?
Yeah, well, the kids will start coming, through the city more. I don't work for Centro.
Who opens the
If you don't
door
have
here?
time, I can go in there.
I
You
think
can
that
them
they
supervise
have
me.
keys.
Show me where the files
Christine,
are.
Christine.
I will look through the files. and
I know
find the
Youth Works will
paperwork.
come in and open up the facility. They're coming in within a month. They get a chunk of money from the city of Moorhead through the police department. The drug diversion money comes to Youth Works to work in the neighborhood. I've been fighting for that for years, to make make sure that that money ends up here and not moved somewhere else. Because they run a decent program. But I think Youth Works gets the key to open it up. And that's what, and I think the women's Papa's wife at the time ran an organization that was here. The New Sudanese were here too. I think they had keys as well.
Like me, if I wanted to do a service here, like community service,
Yeah.
how would I be able to do that?
Well, that's what we got to work out with Christine is, I mean, without an executive director, whether that's a volunteer or an interim, someone's got to step up and take responsibility. So, I mean, really, honestly, I mean, this is what my concern is, the reputation of the Romkey neighborhood, to make sure that this organization, this facility is open and working with kids. I mean, we were here, I grew up in this community. I mean, I remember Romkey, 89, 90.
We want this place to be
Well, that's
jumping.
what, I mean,
full of
what you're
people.
saying,
Not
though,
just for the kids, but for the families
Yeah.
also.
absolutely. And what I would say is, really, you know, I think Christine and the board is one, they're not backing down, and two, they heard you.
And what?
They've heard you. And looking at it, I think you need to have a community, not for the Latino community, the Mexican community, but also the neighborhood, and say, what can this facility, Centro needs to be serving the Latino community. This facility needs to be serving the neighborhood. And, as in the mission statement, fostering a sense of social change in the farm communities. That's, you know, that's what we're doing here is, and we saw that last year, there is movement. But we need to protect the reputation of people engaged in social activism. I mean, we don't want people saying, I don't want to be involved with Latino organizations or GLBT organizations. They just blow themselves up. And I think
track records speak really strongly for people. And I'll tell you something.
But I've seen Renaissance. I've seen organizations rise like a phoenix.
Yes, I was just going to say that. I've been part of organizations that I came in and they had a horrible reputation.
Yep.
And I went.
I think I've watched the United Way. I've watched Pride. I've watched all these other organizations stumble, fall,
Have bad reputations, be on the outs with the whole community.
and then they
come
sit
up.
down. They have a confrontation. Sit down, work it out with the community, and say what needs to be done. The thing about Bremer, I've worked with Bremer. I've written big grants with Bremer, Blandon, the Minneapolis Foundation, big six-figure grants. Bremer is about as forgiving as you can get. They're willing to work with you, and their program directors are as well. The 990 needs to be fought. Christine knows that. I've worked for nonprofits. I've been on boards of nonprofits where they miss the filing deadline and it doesn't show up on the computer. It goes inactive.
And you're right, it's not a big deal when the organization is doing the other stuff. But when they're not doing programming, when they're having underage drinking parties, when there's
what you brought here today, Cindy, is the energy that these folks have been dying for 3 years. When Papa walked out, and he did, he bolted the community. Great guy.
bolted.
He bolted.
Yeah.
He was humiliated,
I
and
know.
he bolted.
I know.
And he lifted this. I mean, we were right there. I mean, we just finished the Blandon training, had just received a $120,000 grant, and honestly, he should have stayed. He should have sucked it up. I mean, I think this community felt bad.
But I mean, I'm telling you, you can't decide that for a dude.
No, I don't.
But
When he left, it collapsed.
But I'll tell you something, Mark. We cannot put that on Papo, and I'll tell you why. Not that I mean, I like the guy. I worked with him for a long time. We can't put that on Papo. Whoever is on the board. I've been on lots of boards.
Yep.
And you know what they say to me? Guess what? We don't have a lot of people. We don't have a lot of money. You're a working board. You got to come in and do this, and now you got to do that, and you're going to have to be responsible for this, and you're responsible for that, and we all have to do it.
And if I had the advice to give you is work with the board you got now.
I am, but I'm going to
Because
call
they have-
bullshit on one thing. I am going to call bullshit on this. I've been trying to get a hold of people on the board. I tried to get a hold of Candace Falcone in writing, in person. I called on the phone. I don't know who was, I didn't know she was the board chair because, again, there's no way to find out. I tried to call Centro, there's nobody answering the phone. There's no answering machine. So I've used all my magical powers to try to get a hold of people. And I don't think it's fair for the people that are still here, and I'm going to hold you responsible because you're the one that's the only one that's left.
She's the only one that's left. She's
That's
stuck
left,
with
right.
it.
I know you are, and I think that's shitty. I know, and I think that's really shitty.
Every one of my Mondays. I don't even make full wages. I have to keep my lights on.
I know, I get that.
But it's true.
I know, I get
I think
that.
sadly,
And what
I
she's
think
been
sadly,
through, what she,
I think she's been put in a
I'm gonna say
position.
this, though. You know that there's been a lot of people, me included, that have been saying
That have
that
attacked me.
have been saying things today. No, I'm talking about before. That have been talking, that have been asking, that have been sending proposals, and we have been ignored. And I'm not the only one.
Understand when we had to get together and make time to work on Centro, Neto was not as responsible as he could have been. He was not the right person for the position. He's all he had at the time. There's only a limited amount of people that put their applications in. We had somebody who was very promising. They want money, and I'm telling you, we need programming. Come and do it. And we don't have to find out.
I have a question to ask though.
We need people to come and fundraise, and I don't have all the time and the
Okay,
resources
I have a
to
question
do it,
though.
but I'm still here, trying to keep
You
it
say
going.
that Neto wasn't qualified, but it seems like you said earlier. I heard you say earlier that you weren't qualified to be on the board because you had no experience. Okay, right. That you had no experience. So I'm wondering, for a person to be on this board and to be able to to have the capacity and the knowledge to hire someone, you have to be able to know what you're looking for and what you're not looking for. And sadly, you don't have that.
No.
You don't have that experience or that knowledge, that capacity to be able to hire a person of that level. But sadly, you're in a position. But wait, you're in a position. But let me finish talking. Let me finish talking. Unfortunately, you're in a position that you've been put in a position where you don't have the experience or the knowledge to be able to run that position. And that's unfortunate, and that's why you find yourself in the position that you are today. But you don't have the capacity to be hiring someone.
Why do I not have the capacity to hire?
Because you already did that and you didn't do a good job.
No, that's who we had.
wasn't Abner on the board?
You
at that time?
can't.
No.
Yeah, but Abner.
He was our interim director when Pablo left. He agreed to be interim director. His son became ill. He declined being interim director. He needed to leave.
Well, wasn't he on the board during the hiring process?
During the hiring process of,
No, he wasn't.
Who was on
we
the
had a
board?
hiring committee.
Then why did you guys not accept people then? If you guys were so in need of
We
people,
had
why
3
did you?
applicants.
No, but people like us that wanted to come in and do programming for free.
Okay, you're talking about the directorship or the programming?
I think you said that the first thing we need to do is to get an executive director here.
No, I would
right?
not hire, you don't have any money. I mean, you cannot bring in an executive director.
We are a working board, and
But-
we've changed our organizational goals in 2015.
You don't have the money, I mean, honestly, you don't have the money to hire staff.
But if we find someone who's willing to volunteer their time, the person that gets placed in that position has to be a person that has the experience. And to choose that person, you have to have someone who's qualified to be able to identify that correct person. It just can't be a person like you or a person like me. It can't be, because we don't have that capacity. It has to be someone who has
The board is supposed to have a hiring committee.
There's no, you can't
the
hire,
founders.
you can't hire.
You can't hire. You have to find somebody who's going to volunteer. But the people to choose that person has to be someone that has the knowledge and the experience in that. People like you, people like Abner, those are the people that founded this organization. Those are the people that should be the ones to find the person to work this organization. Not you or I or another student, because we don't have that capacity.
I would be willing to come down here and direct this place as a volunteer just to see it
But,
run
I mean, the
again.
question, Cindy, it's on everyone's mind. Are you trying to take over this organization for PPP?
No.
No.
No, I have my own
I mean,
organization
in the
that I
community,
would
the
rather
word
be running.
is that you need office space, you want to take over Centro for your own
No,
for
we
selfish
don't. We
interest.
don't need office space. We train people at their facility.
Can you separate what PPP does and your involvement in another nonprofit from what this nonprofit?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Can you?
Well, he started this organization, as you know. He helped start it.
Can you do that?
And I have worked
Because the
with-
board ultimately has a fiduciary and moral responsibility to maintain.
Look,
and
watch,
any-
watch this. I separate my Mexicanness
Yeah.
from all of the other things I do every day. And
Yeah.
I'm still a Mexican everywhere I go.
But I mean, the
But
question,
I'm not going
the
to not be
question-
any less Mexican being here.
Are you?
I am.
But I mean, it's up to the board. And I
That's
mean,
true.
have you demonstrated?
But what are they going to do?
Have you demonstrated today a willingness to work with this board? Have you built-
I've demonstrated
No, but
by
have you
coming
built-
here that I
Have you
want.
built trust?
I don't know that I've built trust now.
No.
It's the actual board members now that have to
The actual
gain
board
our
mem-
trust.
That's
no,
right.
Well,
Not
the actual
us.
board members now have
And actually, I have
Have
talked
the
to him
power.
outside already, and so I think he went and talked to me, and we had a
the
very
board
good
members
conversation.
that you have now
I-
have
I
the
just met
legal-
her.
Have the legal responsibility, yes. If there was any money or any other issues, they will be held legally responsible.
Mm-hmm.
But they are also the people that run this organization.
Right,
And I mean, you've got to work
but they
with
can't
the-
run it alone.
Well,
And so they have to
you
listen to
but
the
you
organization. They have to listen to the
But you
community.
need to build a partnership of trust, okay? And as I was saying, the city, I mean, I've been fighting like hell for the last 3 years to make sure that enough money's coming in through YouthWorks to keep the lights on. I mean, when I bring up Centro to the council or to the
They
park
want to
board.
punch you. I know.
No, I know, and I mean, what Octavio did to the chief of police on the separation ordinance, when we're getting money from the police department through YouthWorks to keep the lights on, I've got to hustle like hell to make sure
I
that
know.
we separate.
But we
the-
still got to hold the police accountable. When,
I know
when they're-
that, I
when
know
they're
that, but when the
profiling us,
board
and we
chair,
do.
but when the board chair accuses the chief of police who writes the check to keep the lights on, we've got to build a relationship of trust. And obviously, trust
Okay,
is.
but that, no, let
but-
me rephrase that. No, that's ass kissing. When people are being racially profiled,
No,
that's
I know,
that's
I
illegal.
know.
And when we stand up and say they don't have the right to throw us in jail for driving around brown, that is a report that came out
Absolutely.
from their data that shows that
and
they
Dave-
racially profile
What?
Latinos
I mean, the
and Native
microphones aren't
Americans.
on, right?
Okay, listen.
Do
the
I get
point
along
is-
with Dave? Do I get along
know,
with Dave?
I know, but my point is, we can't muffle ourselves. No, I'm not going to muffle myself. Not as a volunteer
Well,
here.
I mean-
I'm never going to muffle myself. Not as a volunteer here. Not as a director. Not as
Then-
not as a community member. Not as a member of.
Well, I mean,
PPP
what did Chavez do?
forever.
What would Caesar?
If
What
I
would Caesar
see
do?
some-
What would Caesar do?
I think that we're getting sidetracked.
But my
No,
point
but
is,
what I'm trying to say is, what would Caesar do?
he would stand up and fight.
Absolutely.
He would stand up and fight.
Okay, but Caesar also built relationships.
Yes, he did.
And
But he
every
didn't build-
in a protest, howling against the wind doesn't change the weather. I mean, what you need
came
to
in here to
do,
talk.
absolutely, and you have. But when you confront a board member and get their back up against a wall,
Hey,
and-
just
and-
how many places-
Just happened to be
I know,
standing
but
there.
we all
That
need-
wasn't intentional.
But the other thing
some
is,
intentional trust building needs to happen, some community building, which is, let's sit down and talk.
Right.
And, you know, and I told
And
my mom before I came over here, okay? I said, I'm heading over to Centro. I know there's gonna be good food there. I know that.
Yeah.
Every time, whether it was Torres Ray came in and I was working with Sonia on her campaign, and Sonia's mom came in and cooked. I mean, I love it. And I love it. And I love this culture, okay? We need to build trust. You've got a board that has fiduciary and legal
I think that we
responsibilities.
can build trust with this board.
But this board is Christine, I've worked with her, okay? She's gone through hell. And you know what hell she's gone through in the last year and a half. I mean, this,
I guess I don't, really.
I don't.
I can tell that she's very upset, but I will tell you this.
well, I mean, if you
I
ever
don't know what
get a
you've
chance,
been
if you ever get an opportunity,
Stop to ask to listen, and I tried to explain to you and go through the history of
I-
my experience on this board, but you won't know until you listen.
And-
We
and
have
you know
listened
what?
to you.
I guess I haven't listened to all of it, but this is what I think this is going to sound rude to you, no matter how I say it. I don't really want to hear the blow by blow of all of your experience, because the bottom line is we are here today.
I said that
And-
earlier
and-
today,
and-
but that
and-
doesn't seem matter either.
No, but I don't want you to feel like you have to excuse what's happened.
I don't
It's
agree
broken.
with what
We
happened.
already
It is
know.
broken.
It's broken, and we're here because
trying to
we
tell you
want to
how
work.
it got broken.
But I mean, but Christine, here, Cindy, let me just, on Christine's behalf, okay? When we finished up Blandon, and we were in our, third, fourth session of Blandon, I mean, you wanna talk about persecution for being brown? Okay, when this all settles down, you should talk to Christine sometime about what her family went through in the legal system, which was, I mean, you're confronting a power system that basically, I mean, I won't get into it, but her ties to the Latino community and the Mexican community are gold, okay? And she's been through hell as a single mom in the last year and a half, okay? And you can relate to that, okay? We need to have a community rebuild. You've got to separate Centro from the facility. People depend on this facility. Christine knows this. You have the GLBT community that has pride in doing their own thing. You have the African community, the Bosnian community. They would love to have a facility that they could use. And they need money.
I know, but so do we.
And you need to go back and take a look at Centro. And here's what I'm saying, Cindy. You have to separate the facility from the program. And what I'm seeing,
I really don't think I can, because I'll tell you what, the facility belongs to the Mexican people. It belongs to the Latino community. It does.
But the center.
You're seeing this building as a community center.
Yeah.
And yes, it is a community center.
But it's a Latino.
But you cannot
But I also see
negate
it as a
that
revenue
it's a
center.
Latino community center.
It's the only
And
one
those
we got.
two
It's the
cannot be
only thing
separated.
you got. I mean, this is what I'm saying.
There's nothing else Latino
No.
in the community.
No.
Man, they won't even let us
No,
have
but
our
what I'm
quinceañeras in
what I'm
town.
saying-
We have to go outside of town to have our quinceañeras because they won't rent to us in town. That we don't have nothing in this
Well,
community.
that should
except
come
this
to the
place.
Human Rights Commission.
That's true. Octavio had to go when he was a Human Rights
And
Commissioner.
I'm on the Human Rights
He
Commission.
went and he had to go and get somebody to hold the
I
party.
mean,
that
you
they were
want to
gonna
do
have
something constructive.
because they
put
wouldn't.
put
they wouldn't
pressure on
hold their-
Boxland to fill the frickin' position so we can get a quorum on our Human Rights Commission. We haven't met in 6 months because we can't get quorum because the mayor refuses to appoint people. I mean, you want to do something constructive. As this lame duck quacks his way out of office,
Yeah.
make sure that we got a human, because we can't even confront these issues.
I know.
I mean, here's what I'm saying. As a revenue center, what Centro has,
Is this facility and it
is
can
this
get-
facility, and they need to utilize it. And if it's GLBT, if it's
I'm not
Sudanese,
against that, Mark.
but what
at
I
all.
mean, but what you need to do is go back and say, one, you got the Mexican community, you got the Tejano community, you got the Chicano community, you got all these Colombian community, the Peruvian community, the Guatemalan community, the Indian community, and figure out how do we serve Mexicans, Guatemalans, Colombians that are here. There's about 2,500 in Moorhead. And, with Fargo, I don't know. I don't have the census numbers on that. And then start building trust with this board, help this board out. But make it clear, you're not trying to take over the facility. Because I'm telling you, taking over this facility, it isn't going to benefit you, and I mean, you're inheriting a real mess. But what I've told her,
I wouldn't say that I would volunteer to help if I didn't know.
I think that
Help
the one thing she needs to identify, instead of you feeling like we've attacked you today, you should feel a sense of relief.
That everybody
A
knows.
sense of relief because you have people that are actually from this community, that are actually Latino from this community, extremely passionate to make this organization work.
For the community.
At this point, I don't want you to feel bad. Yeah, unfortunately, okay, hold on. Let me finish. Unfortunately, you have been the only person, the only face that we've had to exhale all of our frustration on and to ask for accountability. And I'm sorry that you are the only person here for that. But be happy that you have what you have here, because we are here to help you to make this organization reach the potential for itself and for this community.
Actually, we're very glad you're here, and that's why we made sure that we were open in here today.
And Christine and I talked, the Bremer grant, okay, and you confronted it, is an in-kind grant, okay? I've done development work, Duke's done development work. Today, you get $170 worth of food. You've got people here volunteering to write letters. all of that needs to be recorded. That's $18 an hour at least in the time that I put in working on this letter. You got $170 worth of food. You've got everything else that was done that can be submitted to Bremer. Fits under the grant. This week, you've got a cleanup week. Everybody, you need to be recording all that in-kind time so that you can start submitting to Bremer, because what I'm hearing is that there is work being done, but you need to capture all of it and submit it to Bremer. And when we talk about in-kind, it can be a couple $100 here and a couple $100 there, but it can be thousands of dollars in-kind.
I'll tell you something. Nobody is going to come here for any kind of in-kind work or donation or anything like that if they don't feel welcome.
Yeah.
And right now, you need to have people that have spent time in this community, like myself, like Marta, like some of those leaders that were here before that had either left the board or that are going to invite people to do stuff, because when we invite people, they will come. Because we have built trust relationship marks. We have built trust relationships with the people of this community.
Can I have a word?
Yeah.
Okay, right
Can somebody
now,
hand me that pen?
we've been meeting.
No, don't
for a
sign that.
couple
That's
of
for Christine.
We've been meeting here for a couple hours, and I think we're getting to like a consensus. Like everybody has voice out of what they want to do. I don't think anybody wants Centro today.
No.
Nobody wants that. And like, what can we do to move it? I propose like to get together again with a mission of like drafting a vision plan for Centro, and we need more people on the board because we don't have money to have a paid staff. So we need a bigger base. And I am new. Christine, in her defense, and Candice, they just been in the condition of like, we have enough time to pay the bills, get the letters and stuff back here every couple times a week. So I would cut her some slack because of her work, like volunteer, like just doing administrative stuff. We like the vision, we like the programming, we like the outreach, because you need time for that. And right now, from what I got, the time has been like administrative.
I think an open meeting is a great idea. You should organize an open meeting. You can get in contact with all those people that were originally here, that helped to build this, all the people that have the capacity and the strengths that we need, and us that want to volunteer that we don't, we're going to come as well. And then from there, let's take the bylaws, let's take the mission, the vision, and everything. Let's put it all out on the table. Let's review that. If it meets what we want, let's leave it. If not, let's change it and move forward.
I know you guys are a small group of people, it's just you and you. Why don't you guys create an event for that open meeting? Pick a time that will work well for everyone.
And record it. And what Cindy's talking about with the Attorney General, and I know Lori Swanson, all of this has to be recorded.
Yeah.
So if Lori calls you and says, "Where's the 990?" The 990 is coming.
Yep.
Are you working on your board development? Absolutely, because I've got names of people that can come in as well. Good young Latino people new to the community, and some Latino people that need to be on this board, haven't been on this board, that are leaders in our community, who have just not wanted to be. Centro is too political for them. I mean, it's just too.
I think from this point moving forward, I think that we can make
administrators or make the event so we can add people to it, because then we'll invite people.
When will it work better for everybody? I would say a Sunday.
A Sunday is always good.
Yep, a late Sunday is perfect.
Does that work for you guys?
Yes.
Can I get out of here? I gotta get out of
You
here.
can
That
get out
doesn't
of here.
have culture like I.
No, I know. No, I
Yeah,
gotta go
I
pick
wanna-
up my kid.
I want to go
I want
get
this
kids.
too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sign the cards. Christine, where's the card?
You're supposed to say something more.
Just to let you know, Joe and Cindy, these cards are gonna send straight to Deacon, so he can get it added into the caucus.
You're on
Get
to
it to
two.
the house.
Central, nothing, this place is dead on Fridays.
Take me up on to forget my
Who hasn't signed cards?
I haven't.
Can you give me that letter, that sample letter? I'd rather do that.
Well, you can, just, here, I got a sample card.
I'll find a sample card.
Well, this is here's what they got for the sample. Just, all you gotta do is just please support
Okay.
and let him open that up at the.
Oh, good.
This thing is signed. hopefully.
And everybody brings their own food. And then we can just have a
Regret about that.
and then we can just have a discussion. And we can just have a discussion. We just watched a movie about, you know, trafficking of Mexican women or Latino women. What do we think about that? What kind of position do we have in our community?
I have
for
about
violence
10.
against women?
I have about 10 programs that I came up with that I passed by Neto and everything, and so I can bring my ideas, and I think that they would be, if they could be implemented, they would be good to work with this type of community that we have, because it would incorporate the Latinos, and then it would start to incorporate the other nationalities that we have here, because basically this is a low income, you know, community, and they need the resources.
There's also another, I started homeschooling my daughter because of the racism that there is in the school system. It was so bad that I actually had to take her out of school. So I have been going through a lot of different educational programs that are available. And there's a really, really wonderful one by Howard Zinn. You guys know who Howard Zinn is. Activist recently died. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of activities that are available that you can do.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Basic history.
Well, what's in here?
It's we cut out for the.
A lot of them are
Oh,
things where
sorry
like,
guys.
okay,
Or if you're done, dude, that's cool. Don't worry about it. Oh, if you're ready.
Conquest of Mexico.
Oh, I did a whole bunch already.
And you get to find out about the history of everything by going
Thank you.
each person and sharing, like, what are you supposed to be? Well, I'm this general and I did this. But you find out by talking to each other and also by really living the history. There's all sorts of activities like that that we can do events.
Like she said, market to the older people, because teenagers, I don't know if that's going to be the best way to bring them, because that means all the Hispanics are there now.
Yeah.
They've moved, a lot of them are left here.
What are you
or over
saying?
there.
Oh, there's no sample. There's a Pat's Prosperity Act.
I have a lot of Hispanics are there that.
Oh, there's a copy of the letter, right?
Yeah,
Just telling them to push it, support it,
Well, we need,
would come here.
send it to pass it.
continue his support
The thing that
in the conference committee, so that, here's a
there
letter.
was like the young people, and
that's what I think
I
they should
want
go
to
back
see
to.
a lot of
Because a lot
target
of-
to the young people.
That's what I think you should do. Like you said, once a week, bring in some movies. Bring in some Hispanic movies, like Freedom Riders
Path
or
to prosperity.
I mean, yeah.
Luis Melones is one of
Love
them.
them. Yeah.
I watched that too. That was so
Dude,
good.
I almost cried. But
I did cry.
watching that the other day.
Have that as
Do you want
a
to do your
premier
letter
movie.
now?
Yeah.
You want his name on the front, or are you gonna do the? You just want it in there, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, some of us put our names and our addresses.
And I think that we should have,
I mean, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. We're going to send them all in one
You can go one.
that
Okay.
go along with, you know, like,
I just put
we
his-
work at
put his
a
name on
shopping
there.
center,
Thank you.
hold, different activities where the kids would play games, like sort of Olympic style games. So like we would have like, you know, relay races, or we would have
I
like,
could bring friends for the volunteers.
and the cool part of it is that what we would do is we would call area businesses that wanted to get rid of the food that they were going to use that day. Like, for example, somebody orders a pizza and they don't come and pick it up. That happens a lot. We were able to get all of those pizzas donated to our center.
Because where I work at, if I talk to them, I bet they would be able to spare a couple hours. Or.
But you can go to area restaurants that are willing to send a donation, and they only have to agree to do it once a week. If you agree to send,
Yeah,
you know,
if you
some
guys want
food,
volunteers, I can talk to Professor Carney, and he's the director of the
I'm gonna go check on things outside. Put on a card, Sarah.
Debería de haber algo cocina abierta para la gente.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on? What's it?